Bill, how are you?
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Hi there.
We're here at your studio, and we were over at On the Ride and met your wife, Prudence, and she told us about your place, and we noticed that you were on the Art and Ambiance trail, so we wanted to come over and see a true bladesmith in action here. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're up to here, or what you're doing?
Well, I can try to explain it the best I can. What I do and what Damascus steel is basically the incorporating of two or more different types of steel. With all the knives that I make, I basically use nothing but high carbon steel, so there's no problems as far as incorporating a low blade or low carbon steel into a blade to where you have faults or bad spots in the blade. So basically what we're going to do, or what I do, is I start out with a 1080 steel, and I start out with a 15N20 steel, which this has got a 0.8% of 1% carbon in it. This has a 0.75% carbon in it. We start out by incorporating the two by making a billet. And what we do is we'll start out by taking a 1080, a 15N20, 1080, 15N20, and we stack them together like this until we get this particular bar right here, which is this billet.
So you're just making a block of steel out of different gauges of steel, basically.
Exactly. We're layering all these different layers of these two different steels to get this.
Now you're heating all of this together at some point, I assume.
Once we get this bar made up like this, then it goes right into the forge. And the forge is running at about 2300 degrees.
So this is like today where it's raining. It's a perfect day to come out here and visit you because of the way your product is being produced. The rain doesn't bother anybody coming out here then, does it?
No, actually a rainy day is a better day because the humidity levels go higher and my forge actually burns hotter on a humid day.
So, really?
So it actually does help me.
Well, I'm glad that we came out today then.
Exactly. But anyway, as we get into this billet is made like this by doing all this stacking. And as we take this to the forge and bring it up to welding heat and then press it in a press, we'll go ahead and it'll combine down into one big bar like this. Once we stretch it out, the bar will be continuous like this, will be all your layers. This particular billet right here had 19 layers in it. So as we stretch it out and we get it to a certain point, we'll go ahead and we'll hot cut it and we'll fold it over on itself like that, and at that particular time we'll end up with 38 layers. We'll just keep folding, welding, forge welding, and folding it as we go until we get to the desired number of layers that we want.
So you're go ahead.
You heat it and then you press it
exactly
into the block, and as it stretches you fold it again and heat it some more.
So this thing is actually being elongated over a period of time. You're folding it again and elongating again.
Exactly.
But so you could have how many of these stacks by the time you get through elongated multiple times?
Well, if this particular billet right here, if we was taking it, we'd go ahead and stretch it on out. It might be out to a foot long. We'd cut it in half, fold it over. We got 38 layers. We can keep going that way and keep stretching it and folding it until we get to the layer count that we want.
My goodness.
So how long about does that take to get it to that point?
It's a very time-consuming. To initially weld this block down into a solid piece of steel, it takes about an hour to an hour and a half. Then to stretch it out, for each additional weld to stretch it out, to hot cut it, to fold it over and stretch it again, you're looking at another probably 30 to 45 minutes. So to take this particular 19-inch billet, or 19-layer billet rather, into say a 120-layer billet, you're looking at roughly 4 to 5 hours.
Wow, that's a long process. Now, what are these? Looks like bones or antlers, or what are they?
This is basically just the handle material that I'll use on my knives. This right here is walrus bone. This here is walrus. These are stabilized woods that have been professionally stabilized.
Now, when you say stabilized, how do you mean that? What is that?
This is just a block of wood that's been bought from this particular piece right here is black ash. It was black ash burl that was bought from somebody that came across some fantastic stock. And here's box elder burl that usually comes out of California, and here's some buckeye burl that comes out of California. They're all sent to a stabilizer, which the stabilizer I use is out of Iowa.
Okay.
What he does is he'll put it in basically a kiln-like area, a vacuum chamber. He'll draw a vacuum on it and pull all the moisture and air out of that piece.
Okay.
Then he puts a fine mist of his acrylic back into it under pressure to where the wood acts as a sponge.
Right.
The wood, the bone, everything.
It's all apart when you're holding it then.
Exactly. What it does is it turns it almost into a plastic. It's still wood, but it impregnates it so much that it's waterproof.
Wow.
And it won't shrink or it won't
Which is
expand
perfect
with
for when
humidity.
you're out in the woods and everything.
Well, it's for all humidity levels. Like if I make a knife and send it to California, the humidity levels from this area to their area can cause the handles to expand or contract.
Right.
So that's one of the things that stabilized material is really, in my opinion, is very necessary to really make a good knife.
Well, this is a real art form, so people, I assume, collect knives too, I would think.
Basically all the knives, not all of them, but probably 80% of the knives that I make and sell do go to collectors, even though I do make a hunting knife, and I specialize in every knife that I make is made to be used. But 80% of them probably do go to collectors.
Now, I assume your collectors aren't just from this area, they're from...
No, they're all over the world.
So people coming here would get to see a bladesmith, basically, that is collected from all over the world.
Exactly.
And that would be quite an honor then to be able to be in your studio.
Well, it's quite an honor to have people from all over the world want to buy my stuff.
My God.
And they can find them on the internet?
On the internet, yes.
Great, great.
But what we'll start out with is we'll get all this, and then when we end up, we'll end up with this.
Ooh, isn't that beautiful? Now you do the etching part in there too, then?
Yes, exactly. That's the blade is brought basically up to this point right here, to where it just looks like any other ordinary steel. And then when it's immersed into a furic chloride solution, then the Damascus pattern shows up.
That pattern is in the steel?
Yes, this pattern runs completely through the steel. That is the steel as it goes through there. It hasn't been engraved or anything else. That's just the way the steel is manipulated and the way that the layering is in the steel.
So now I had heard earlier something about mosaic or something. What is that? What is
mosaic? Is a bar of steel that is Damascus also, but it's to where the pattern on this particular, right here. This is this bar right here after it's been made and stretched out and completed. The pattern's on the outside of this bar. That's what that knife is right there. That's a random pattern, basically Damascus. On a mosaic pattern, the pattern wouldn't be on the outside of the bar. The pattern would be on the inside of the bar, right down the center. If I can show you, and I can show you better on a knife here after a while. Right here is a mosaic pattern.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
That's really intricate.
My gosh, I would have never guessed that you could get that kind of pattern just by opening up the steel.
Every one of these little, the clover leaf and the snowflake and the flower head, every one of those was made individually and then incorporated and forge welded together to make this bar.
Wow.
Very time consuming, and this particular bar right here, to get it all made, it's probably got 40 to 60 hours in it.
Well, this would be a real treat for anybody that's on the Art and Ambiance trail to come by and say hello to you and get a real eye-opener of how knife making should be done.
Well, everybody's always welcome. All they got to do is just let me know ahead of time if they want to come, and they're always welcome to come out.
And your website is www.geocities.com.
geocities.com/Buxton Knife.